welcome to PlayStation Access. I'm Nathan. I'm here with Holly.
Hey guys.
We are at QuakeCon 2016. And what this video is, because there was some, so basically the way QuakeCon works is that they stream a portion of it, and then some of it is just for the people who've been in this room, and this is the kind of stage behind us.
Yeah.
And what we got to see was, basically what we came for, we're super excited about, was a look at the new Prey, which has been rebooted by Arcane Studios, which is the French studio behind Dishonored. And we got to see stuff that you didn't see, basically. So we're going to talk you through it, and Holly's made like a list with notes.
So everyone who watches Access frequently knows that if Holly has a notebook,
something's gone down.
We've a lot of things to talk about, and there's a lot to talk about.
So it wasn't exactly a playthrough, it was details with the guys from Arcane were on stage, and then they were kind of dropping in. It was basically like a highlights reel.
It was lovely.
And then they kind of just dropped in and said, this is what this means. So kick us off. There's so much to get through, but kick us off.
Okay, I'm going to kick you off with 2017.
Yes, that was right at the end. Yeah, I was waiting for that.
No, I was going to kick. Yeah, it was at the end. I was going to kick off with it because
that's when the games come in.
As I said, 2017. No time zone on that, but just 2017.
Probably at the end.
Probably going on at the end. Okay, so first of all, Talos 1.
Talos 1 is a space station.
It is a space station. So this is set in space. A Talos 1, though, however, they described it as open world. So this is a huge space station.
It's like, so basically, we got to see some of the outside of it, but Talos 1 is orbiting the moon, and it's the location of you're Morgan, and Morgan Yu, and you are like the key kind of subject in experiments to kind of expand the horizons of like what being a human is. And it takes place on this space station, which is orbiting the moon, and you wake up and it's gone like bad. Yeah,
it's gone like really bad.
Of course, it's gone bad.
The whole atmosphere. I said very BioShock meets Alien Isolation, and then you were like with Dishonored.
Yeah, with Solid. Well, like this is what so they came on stage and Arcane said we make immersive first-person games. That's what we do. Like and so they are in the mold of, they're in the tradition of stuff like going all the way back to kind of Looking Glass. And then obviously like Irrational, and this we all know what Dishonored's like. And this is, looking at the teaser they showed at E3, it was hard to see how you could get from there to here. It seemed like a sci-fi action game. But we did. We saw it. This is exactly what it is. Imagine, Dishonored in space, or BioShock in space, or kind of a System Shock. It's along those lines. Be excited about that.
Okay, so we're going to start with the enemies. So we've been told that we're being hunted by aliens. But these are like non-corporeal. Like they had no like physical form.
They're like shadow aliens.
They were like shadow aliens.
And I don't know if you were the same as me. They were talking about the specific abilities of some of the aliens, and I was just thinking, poor Dave, because these aliens, like they can mimic. They've got this ability called mimic, and they can just be any object in the world can be like a little shadowy spider. And we're just like anything. So you constantly like walking around looking for scares.
Everything is scary.
It'd be crazy.
I think at one point I looked at Nathan, I was like, nope.
Yeah, no, big nope.
Nope.
It was just like a can. Just a can became like a little spider. But then there were big versions too. So there was
Phantoms.
Phantom was just slightly bigger, and then they were talking about. We'll talk about. I'm sure you've got like in your notes about the mods, but it's basically when you upgrade your ability, sometimes that attracts. And there was the demo.
The
kind
3
of,
question marks.
The demo ended with this like enormous it was filling up the size of a corridor. It was barreling through, knocking stuff out of the way. It looks so like obviously these comes in all different shapes and sizes. They're kind of non-corporeal, and they're like the whole deal is that the Talos 1 is completely ruined, and it's their fault.
Okay, so weapons. Now they were quite upfront about this. Weapons are rare. So you won't find one. We picked up what looked like a basic handgun, which I guess it would be on there, and then we picked up the glue gun. The glue gun
looked amazing. There was also a shotgun, but the glue gun is like, so the shotgun and the handgun look like, hey, weapons.
Yeah, these are guns.
And then the glue gun looked like, oh, it's part of my immersive first-person experience.
This was incredible. So the glue gun, so you could shoot the little spider creatures, and they literally just went into mounds of glue, which you could then set on fire and explode.
It's kind of like freezing, or spraying them with concrete or something like that.
And then they were like, okay, we need to get up to the second level. What should we do? They literally sprayed the glue gun up the wall and made a path. And just climbed up
to a balcony. And they were, you see that and you kind of go, oh, that's interesting. I bet that's part of a puzzle. And then you think, no, this is Arcane. They made Dishonored. I can do that wherever I want. This is part of my playthrough style.
That's what makes the Talos 1 open world and not an on rails, like this is the path we go down, because it's got that freedom and the accessibility. And then they were like one corridor where there was like a gas pipe that was on fire. So
bit of a cliche, isn't it? But I like that. But then what they did with the cliche is they introduced something like the glue gun to it. So
so they just popped a little bit of glue on the end of the gas pipe, and then the gas was off, and then you could just walk through the corridor.
It's like mending something. It was brilliant. It was like DIY in a game.
It's everything you want, mate.
Yeah, I hate DIY. But what's next?
we were like, with the weapons, before we move on, you could change using the wheel. We love a wheel in a game.
It was an abilities wheel.
It was an abilities wheel.
Very similar to Dishonored.
Yeah, it really was, and that's how you could change abilities and change weapons. So that's that's your loadout basically.
Yeah.
And then obviously to powers, I've written mind-bending powers.
They are mind-bending powers. So there was a really quick. They flashed through the RPG kind of layer of the game.
And it really was
incredibly quickly.
And it was there. There was an skill tree, which is like the most Western RPG thing in the world.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, so the stuff that I saw was they've got like leverage, which is basically strength, so you can pick up enormous things, and sometimes they can be things which are blocking your path, but it can also be offensive because you can throw these things at enemies. They had engineering, which seems pretty basic. There's like a fabrication system in the game. But they also had mimic. At the bottom.
This was really fun.
And so basically you've got a mix of human abilities which you can upgrade, but also then you're kind of learning from the aliens somehow. I don't want to spoil like your
ruin everything I've written,
notes, but you can basically. They showed us becoming a cup.
Oh
right?
my god, this is so good.
And then like fitting through a tiny space because you're a cup, and it kind of reminded of the possession system, like disembodying yourself within Dishonored.
It reminded me of I Am Bread.
Or I Am Bread. I mean, they're very similar, aren't they? So you can. I don't know. We don't know what the kind of the boundaries around it are, what the rules are of this stuff. But you can become other things within the game, and then use that. And then one of the other things they used it for was stealth. So you could become an object, and then obviously you are invisible to the enemies. And then they combined it with another ability, which was the telekinetic blast. And so they were like a tiny little kind of sphere object, which is to do with the fabrication system. And they used the blast to launch, like rocket jumping, to launch themselves up to another level.
It reminds me of, you know, Red Dwarf. In the episode where they all have their emotions sucked out of them.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
It is exactly like that episode of Red Dwarf. Which is a really British reference. No, some of you might not get that. So the idea was you could literally use Mimic, so we can use something called a neuromod, which was literally like sticking a camcorder with needles into your eye.
Yeah, and the needles in the viewfinder. So you kind of that's how you get the ability to give yourself extra powers. Is you put this kind of, it's like a pair of goggles, but then you press the button and it kind of injects right into your eye, and then you get like
it goes into like the brain mapping, which was really cool. And then, like Nathan said, the other way is to learn from monsters. And I'm guessing since one of the creatures are called mimics, I would assume the mimic ability comes from studying the mimics. Yeah,
it does, but I think the neuromod is the pathway for all your RPG abilities, but it's whether you kind of go down the human route or the alien route or a kind of a...
Which to me makes me think that the reason that aliens are hunting us is probably because we are in some way linked to them. Because we know that like, when we level up our abilities too high.
It's got that whole thing of like
is this a dream or are we like... Is this a psychological thriller?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, what's next?
Okay, so after we've turned into a little ball and pushed ourselves up the stairs, I've got items. So the idea is the recycle charge, which is all this. So this is like a grenade you threw out, and it basically let off like a mini black hole, sucked out all the stuff that was in the room, and then you could cross the room.
But it also deconstructed everything.
Yeah, it was just broke it down.
So if it was like chairs, then I would throw it, and the chairs would become, like metal and fabric, and then I could use that.
Use to make that item.
Yeah, and then you can, exactly, and then you can use that in a fabrication machine. And there's like a plans system.
Yeah, you've got to find plans.
And then you can make basically whatever you can find plans for in the game. And they showed them making some kind of propulsion system.
The 0G propulsion system.
There you go. I remember that it was.
That's why I take notes.
So there we go. Yeah. So obviously that is again like just a completely different, but just like. It's another system within the game which stops it from just being a linear experience. You're going to choose what you want to fabricate and where to get your ingredients from. It's going to be interesting to see like open world on a space station like that with arcane tools as well, which means you have to get really creative if you want to travel. Yeah. And I can't wait to see how they do that. But it's going to be amazing. It looked scary. And it's like a horror game, but also, I mean, I don't know if we really made the point that you kind of brought up earlier on about the fact that it is an open world game, and it sounds like there might be some kind of areas you might not be able to go to first of all, but as part of it being an open world game, you can go into a 0G environment outside of the space station, and they've modeled the entire exterior, and that's some of how you find your way around. You might only be the perspective of coming outside and looking where everything is might be the best way for you to find out where you're supposed to be going next. Which just seemed amazing, and we've just been playing Adrift in the office, and I was like, no, this looks cool, and it's like the environment you'd expect from the Dishonored guys, but like, there's like a floating husk of like a space shuttle module. Man,
and we found some like crew members out there. I wonder if there's some sort of collection system where like collecting tags from people.
Yeah, I expect audio logs. I mean, I'd expect
11 audio log.
Exactly.
But there you go. That is everything on my list.
Exhausted.
But yeah, so everything we saw.
That is what you didn't see. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for learning about Prey with us. And stay tuned. We've got loads more coming up from QuakeCon.